Hi all, this is Miss Billerbeck. This is section 10.2 for linear graphs. So we previously discussed the Cartesian coordinate system, and so now we're going to start applying it. So I've already labeled our x and our y axes, our origins right here. I've set up a number system here, and I want to plot this equation right here, y equals x. So I've made a little table down here where I'm going to keep track of what is y when I do an input for x. So this is an input for y, input, and this is an output. Okay, so if I put in a -3 for x and y equals x, then it'll be -3. If I put a -2 in, y is -2. And with -1, y is -1. If I put a 0 in, I have a 0 here. And look, oh, that's the origin right here. We have an origin. Okay, and if I put 1 in, I have 1, 2, and 3. So now let's graph that. So we know we have the origin. So we also have 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, whoops, that didn't look right. 2, 2, and 3, 3 up here. And then we had 1, -1, or -1, -1, -2, -2, and -3, -3. Let's see, that one was right there. Okay, if we did it all right, they should all be on a line because that's a linear equation. So now we can draw a line. You may be saying, but Miss Billerbeck, you just said a few days ago that you only needed 2 points to make a line. You're right. You only need 2 points to make a line. This is overkill, okay? So you only needed 2 of these points to make that line. All right, but we're teaching this lesson, you're learning how to use this table, this XY table. All right, so let's look at a different graph. Okay, we have y equals -x. So if I put in a -3, 2 negatives make that's right, a positive. So we have a 3, -2, -2 is +2, -1 is a +1. 0 is neither positive or negative. And -1, so this just becomes -1, -2, -3. So let's plot those. So we do have the origin again. This time at 1, we're going down to -1 for our output. At 2, we're going to -2. And at 3, we're going down to -3. And then if we look over here, we have -1, 1, -2 up to 2, and -3 on the x, and then we go up to 3 on the y, and look, we made a nice line again. Okay, let's see if I can line it up better than the first time. And there we have it. A little hard, there you go. Okay, so you have a nice line like that. All right, let's look at some more interesting little graphs here. How about, oops, I lost my little, there it is. All right, how about x plus 4? So if I put in -4, what's -4 plus 4? That's right, 0. What's negative 3 plus 4? It's the same thing as 4 minus 3, or different signs take the difference. So negative 3 plus 4 would be 1. Negative 2 plus 4 is 2. Negative 1 plus 4 is 3. 0 plus 4 is 4. And then 1 plus 4 is 5. And then 2, 6, and 7. Okay, so we start at 0, negative 4. So x is 0, and we're way down here at negative 4. Oof, I should have planned better, shouldn't I? Wait, that's not right. I did plan better. What did I do wrong? So let's look. So I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4. So I should have written a negative 4 over here. And then y is 0. So there it is. Okay, so then and this is actually called an x-intercept. When I have a point right on the x-axis. Now I have negative 3, but I'm up to positive 1. Then I'm at negative 2 right here, and I'm up to 2. Then negative 1, I'm at 3. And at 4, at 0, I'm way up here at 4. Okay, this is called my y-intercept, where it intercepts the y-axis. Okay, so my x-intercept is where does it intercept the x-axis. My y-intercept is where does it intercept the y-axis. So we can draw our line now. Let's see. There we go. Okay, that's odd. The other graphs, they went through the origin right here. See that? They went through the origin. Okay, but nothing was being added to them. Nothing was being added to this, and it went through the origin. Here we have a plus 4 added to this. So it was this at y equals x. So let's look at y equals x one more time. Here's y equals x. And then that's y equals x plus 4. Okay, here's the origin. 1, 2, 3, 4. We added 4. Look at that. So we went through the origin here. We didn't go through the origin here because we changed where the graph was going to go through the y-axis by adding 4. Okay. So let's see if that works for our next one. All right, so we have y equals negative x. Now we had this one here, y equals negative x. Okay, so this one went through the origin, and it went that direction, which is the opposite of this one. This one went different directions, you see? This is a positive slope. This is a negative slope. So this one has a negative slope, so it should go the same direction. And this is in the origin, but this has a -2. So what do you think is going to happen? Okay, well, let's see if you're right. All right, so if we put in negative 3, that makes a positive 3. -2 gives us 1. Negative 2. So that's negative negative 2 minus 2. So that makes it 2 minus 2. Well, that's just 0. Okay, then we have negative 1, which is positive 1. 1 minus 2. Those have different signs, so we have to take the difference and keep the sign of the bigger number. So that's 2 minus 1, and that's 1, and then the 2 is a negative, so that's negative 1. If this is a 0 minus 2, 0 minus 2, that gives us negative 2. And then negative 1 minus 2, oh, now we have the same sign, so we add them and keep the sign of the bigger number. So 1 plus 2 is 3, and then it's negative 3. Negative 2 minus 2, so negative $2 in the bank, and you spent $2 more, so you're more in debt, negative 4. Okay, negative 3 minus 2 is negative 5. Okay, let's plot. So we're at 1, this is negative 3, so negative 3, 1. This is negative 2 and 0, so we have an x-intercept right here. Now we're at negative 1, negative 1, 0, negative 2, 1, negative 3, and then when we go to 2, we're way down here at negative 4, and 3 is 5. So let's take a look at this. Okay, so we have this. Oh, look, we're going through 0, negative 2. This one we went through 0, 0 when we hit the y-axis. And that's a y right there, by the way. It just got rubbed off a little. Okay, so we notice that this negative 2 shifted it down, so the y-axis, the y-intercept on the y-axis is negative 2. So we have a y-intercept now right here. And then we have an x-intercept at negative 2, 0. Woohoo! If you're dyslexic like me, that's a dyslexic nightmare. Negative 2, 0, and 0, negative 2. Okay, just saying. All right, so let's go look at a different graph. All right, this one I forgot to label, but let's make these smaller. So let's do 1, because we can always change. I'm going to skip because it gets too crowded. So we're going to just label the evens, the even numbers. So teach you guys your even numbers even better. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, negative 2, negative 4, negative 6. So remember, we make the coordinate, we measure the coordinate match up to our data the best that we can. Okay, so sometimes we do have to mess with how we're going to label our axes. So don't feel that you always have to label it always the same way. All right, because that's just not how it is. So if you see, I'm not using the normal numbers that I was using before. Why did I do that? Look at this. 1/3. That's not easy. Okay, so we know it's a negative slope, so it's going to go down this way. So if I was planning strategically, I won't write in quadrant 4. Okay, because it looks like the graph's going to go from quadrant 2 to quadrant 4. All right, so I'm going to just show you what's going on here. So my question is -6, 4 on the line? Well, I can answer that quickly. Okay, so -1/3, and my x is here, my y is here. Okay, and so I put in -6 here plus 2. So it's really -6 over 1. So I have y equals -6 over 3. So that's just +6 over 3, which is 2 plus 2. So that means y equals 4. My question is -6, 4 on the line? Yes. When I put it into the equation, y equals 4. So that's the correct way to figure it out. You can also start plotting it, and then it should go through the line. So we have one point there. So if I have -1/3 of -3, so we know that -1/3 of -3 over 1 equals -3 over -3. Well, that's just 1. So then we have 1 plus 2. So 1 plus 2 is 3. 0 plus 2 is 2. Then we have -1/3 of 3. So that's just going to be 3 over -3 is -1. So we have -1. Oops, something's up. Okay, let's try that again. So -1 plus 2, that's what's happening. So we found this is -1. So when we put this in here, y equals -1/3 of 3 plus 2, we get -1 plus 2, which is 1. So that's 1. And look, we're seeing a pattern here. We can pretty much know that this is going to be 0. But if we put in -1/3 of 6 is -2. -2 plus 2 is 0. So now we can go and graph this line. So we have 4, -6, 1 right here, and then we go up to 4, which is right here. Then we have -3, and we're going up to 3. We have at 0, we have 2. So we have a y-intercept right here. Okay, when x equals 0, we get a y-intercept. Very important. So y-intercept. And then at 3, 1, and 6, 0. So now we have an x-intercept. And we can graph our line. There you go. Right. So if you'd like to know a cheat way to do this, well, we just look at this. This is, if you remember, this is how it begins, and this is how it changes. So the y-intercept is how it begins. Okay, that's not the best pen in the world. Let me find a different pen. Okay, and then this one is how it changes. So this one's, let's erase this so you can actually read what I wrote. So the y-intercept's how it begins, just like those sequences that we were studying. Okay, so this is how it begins, beginning. And this is change. Okay, so if you remember, you may not have been taught this. So slope equals rise over run. Okay, so this is the slope. So it could be a rise of -1, run of +3, or it could be a rise of 1, run of -3. So if we start here and we rise 1 and run -3, that got us to this point. Okay. If we come out here to this one and we rise -1 and run +3, it gives us this point. So this is how it changes. Okay, or it's the slope. So that's a little more advanced than your lesson, but might as well learn it. Well, have a wonderful day.